So navigating the light body and learning so much about the navigation of the light body. And what we were just sharing is that this truly is the best ever Flight Lessons 101. Because as the light body comes in, the consciousness is ascending, and you could say the light body is descending into the form, just for a visual. And the more familiar we become with the light body, this is the establishing of a completely new relationship with Source, because the light body is our reconnection in the form to the Source consciousness. And it is that aspect of the divine within us, that, we are God in the form, and this is the reconnection into the God consciousness, what's called sometimes the Godhead. We also talk about the monad and all these different things, but the experience, once again, to get handholds in the wall for ourselves as we're navigating this internally in our own process, is that the consciousness is literally rising out of the form of the carbon. And so what this means is, in carbon-based DNA, we see through certain lenses. So the metaphor that I'm being shown is like carbon-based DNA would be like being in the submarine under the water. So the submarine, you're in a submarine and you see whatever is around you in that realm of under the water. Just like the nymph, the dragonfly nymph, lives in the bottom of the water. They're bottom dwellers underneath the water. So that would be the same as us when we are in a carbon-based form. And just like the nymph climbs the stalk of a lily pad and exits the water at a certain point, that is what is occurring for us in the form. And we would say for certain that the nymph only leaves the bottom, their bottom dwellers, as they are going through a consciousness process of release. So the nymph is a predatory creature, and it will eat anything. And that is what we have been rising ourselves out of, is a form that was programmed to consume outside of itself. The consciousness is not the vehicle. Consciousness is all pervading. Consciousness coming into the form. A metaphor that we often used was like melted chocolate being poured into a chocolate mold. The melted chocolate will just go splat unless we give it a form to pour into. So we infused our spirit into a form, a basic form of carbon, to begin to have a greater sense of creation in the form. What it means to be in the form and to create form. So we start from the basics. The basics are carbon. And as we start to evolve our consciousness inside of the form in a causal reality that we have come from, a reality of cause and effect, a reality based in time, so time provides the experience of separation between the thought and the manifest form of the thought. And as we begin to move into higher states of consciousness, we have instantaneous manifestation, because we learned in the carbon form, we got to see the results of our creations. And in the carbon form, the mental and the emotional body were separate, so we were creating emotionally or we were creating mentally until we could bring that into alignment in the form. And once we bring that into alignment in the form, once we bring the polarity of the causal reality into neutral, we begin to become masters, like a Qigong master or someone in Taekwondo. You become more masterful in the form at recognizing the effect of every motion, every thought, every action. And so we become more mindful in that carbon-based form. As we do, it begins to open new pathways inside the DNA that we call stargates, which then allow the consciousness to begin to infuse itself beyond the carbon-based form. So it's like a metaphor that we used was a maze, but let's, agricultural irrigation in a field. There's many trenches, and in the trenches there are valves or gates that open and close to flood certain fields at certain times in the field with water. Maybe the cornfield is the non-GMO, beautiful 13-colored cornfield is now irrigated. And so we close off that gate for the water to flood into that field any longer. Now we open up another gate for the water to flow into a different field. That is what is happening in the form as we turn off certain sequences in the DNA. And that was the patterns that we were all working to turn off inside of ourselves. It has nothing to do with anything outside of ourselves. What is outside of us is merely a perception of what we are experiencing within. And so we were learning to navigate, to shut down certain gates inside of us that were producing the same experience within us, regardless of what the external world was really doing. Our experience was always internal. And so we closed down certain gates within us to allow new gates of higher consciousness to open, just like new gates opening to flood new fields. And that is the upgrade in the human body from the carbon into the silica, the matrix within us that is crystalline. And those gates are now opening and unlocking and revealing a completely new experience for the consciousness that still seems to be inside of a form. The consciousness is moving into the light body experience while still being in the form. So we have bridged, or we are bridging, the spirit and the form. And as we become familiar with the light body experience, more of our consciousness, more of our awareness, more of our focus is placed in the light body experience now of heavenly bliss. And that heavenly bliss comes in and infuses the physical form without us having to do anything to activate the stargate that we are, because we are all a star. And this is opening up the light body in the form. This is transfiguration of the form. The transfiguration of the form as the consciousness places more and more of its focus into the light body awareness. Then we experience the transfiguration of the form. It is a natural part of the mechanics of ascension. So one of the metaphors that we were sharing is, it's like a caterpillar has certain set of parameters that it exists inside of for survival in its caterpillar form, and it eats and it rests and it's very basic in its form. As the consciousness of the caterpillar transforms into the butterfly, the consciousness inside the cocoon, as the caterpillar turns into a cocoon, the consciousness inside of the cocoon is already engaging with the light body of the butterfly, while the caterpillar is still in the caterpillar form. More and more of the consciousness of the caterpillar is being flooded into the light body of the butterfly. And when that light body, when the consciousness is fully flooded into the light body of the butterfly takes form. And the whole consciousness moves in a simultaneous, unified field together inside of a new form. And so what mattered to the caterpillar is of no relevance to the butterfly, only because the butterfly has infused itself with the light body of a completely new form that experiences the cosmos in a completely unique way from any other form that experiences the cosmos. So as we are merging and navigating this process internally, as we are experiencing more of our light body in the form and more of our awareness is going into the light body, and we recognize that stories and things that were traumatic or that we couldn't let go of are just, they're complete in a different aspect of the cosmic consciousness, which is why we returned the story to love on the 8/8/17 Lion's Gate, the bottle of water infused with love in a carpet that was the prayers of the indigenous for Mini Wachoni. The guidance said Mini Wachoni was a call-out signal from the stars that ascension was a success. And so we infused our stories with love, and we walked through the final parts of the journey of experiencing it all as love, so that those experiences and journeys could be restored to the cosmic Akash in love. That's what our journey has been. And now the light body is coming in for those of us who have been in that process, who are complete inside of that process. Now we are coming into the form through the light body of our butterfly or our nine-arc Merkaba, our true unified twin ray. And the consciousness is being guided into these realms of the solar logos, the unification of our God consciousness into the form. And this is where we truly begin to create in the simultaneous miracle coordinate. No cause and effect anymore, just instant manifestation in the form. And so the invitation is to honor the light body, to place our focus and our awareness in nurturing this relationship with the light body, like courting it or having a love affair with the light body in the form. And anything that comes into the field that feels like a distraction or disharmonious, it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It just allows us to see where we can place our focus on the light body in that part of our energy field, and call the light body into that part of our form, because even our aura is an aspect of form. So it is a nurturing process, it is a love affair process, it is a sensual process, because the light body is ecstatic. As we said before, the light body is stoked to come into the form. It is of an essence of what we might call purity and innocence, to explore the sensual, the perceptual of the realms of form, while not being bound by the form, and having the capacity to transform the form, and having the capacity to, we will say, move the form in and out of time and space at will, when, where, and how we choose. What it really means is transforming the form, continually transforming the form when we choose a new experience in the form. Which is why we released, it's why we let go. Because these are higher dynamics of creation. These are core cosmic principles in the form.